this is Reverend Don Lewis, and welcome to the greatest ever pagan super show extravaganza. With me is my co-host, Reverend Mary Hawk, and our guest, Jodi, the anonymous crone. Welcome.
Great to be here. Nice to see you guys.
It's good to see you. So tell us a little bit about yourself.
Well, I've been on my path for 30 years this year. I have just stepped into cronehood, and I thought it was time I kind of gave back to the community, and so I started a podcast. And I kind of cater to a lot of the new practitioners. And so the anonymous crone part isn't because of me. My face is everywhere. I'm everywhere. I introduce myself everywhere I go. But the anonymous part is the new practitioners when they're talking on the podcast or they're asking questions. A lot of them haven't come out of that broom closet yet. So they say, can I just be anonymous? I said, of course you can. It's the name of the podcast. So, but yeah, my name's Jodi, and I started this podcast to kind of teach what I know so far, and I'm learning on the way. So,
yes, indeed. What sorts of subjects do you discuss?
So I've been eclectic. I'm learning everything I can because I am knowledge hungry. So I pull from everywhere. So when I'm teaching, so the podcast is not path specific. It's kind of, so here's who we are. Here's what we do. Not all of us do it this way. Some of us do it this way. Not all of us believe this, but some of us do. So I'm teaching everything. I'm starting at the beginning. What is paganism? The next one is Maiden Mother Crone, just the basics of kind of our beliefs and the different paths that believe these beliefs. I've started there, and then I went to what is a sacred place? What is a circle for? Like, why do you cast a circle? I went from that to why do we need protection in today's world? Well, because we absolutely need it in today's world. And it's, like I said, not path specific, but because of all the BS that's in this world, throwing it at you in every direction. And so then I started getting a little more specific. I'm like, all right, let's talk about Hecate. She's my favorite, you know? And so we touched on Hecate. And then we talked about brownies. What are like house spirits? You know, just a little bit of everything. The episodes are just, they're different. Everyone is different. They may reference each other, but you don't have to start at the beginning. You can jump in anywhere and just kind of, follow along from there. Yeah.
Very cool.
So how did you get started on your path?
Well, about 30 years ago, I was in my 20s. I just hit my 20s. And I was a DJ. I was a KJ for one of the biggest nightclubs in Flint, Michigan. So I met a lot of people. And when karaoke was done, we weren't done partying. I lived down the street. My kids at the time were at their dad's on the weekends. So I'm like, come on over. Someone brought a Ouija board and we started playing around there. And then I met a lot of people who were into the same paranormal stuff that I was. So we formed a little tight-knit group. And then I started having dreams. And I started telling my new friends my dreams. And they're like, oh my God, I'm having the same dream. So it took us down to 5 girls. We started hanging out and talking about these dreams we were having. Had no idea. I'm from a Free Methodist Christian background. Had no idea what these meant. And so we started talking about our dreams. And then we started having the same dream, but we started veering off. I started dreaming about a staff, some like really weird piece of wood that had knots in it. I didn't know what it meant. Another lady started dreaming about like a knife that had jewels in it. And we all started dreaming about something different. And then we'd get together and talk about it. And someone said, that knife that you're talking about, I have that at my house. And I walked out to my backyard, and that staff that piece of wood that I was dreaming about was in my backyard. I still have it, actually. We started dreaming about a circle and a star and candles and salt And we're like, what the heck is this? I'm like, we're just going to have to do this. So we got together. We had a ritual where we drew down the moon. And it was insane. Nobody knew anything about paganism. We all came from Christian backgrounds. And after we did this ritual, we stood back and like, okay, what now? We watched this light come from the clouds all the way down. Not above our house, but kind of like here in the horizon. And we're like, oh my God. I'm like, are you guys seeing this? And at that point, we all knew that there was more to life. There was more to our beliefs than we were led to believe. And sorry, my cat's shedding and I have like cat hair all over my face. Sorry about that. So we started doing our own research and figuring out what stuff meant. And after that ritual, we didn't know it's called a ritual. We didn't know what that was. Our friend group kind of broke up. We just stopped hanging out. Our time together was done. That season was over. And we just all went on our own way. And so I found a metaphysical bookshop that was in Flint, Michigan. And I started reading everything I could get my hands on. I found Scott Cunningham. I found Starhawk Spiral Dance. I mean, I found everything I was meant to find. And it's been 30 years and I'm still hungry for more knowledge. I want more. I want to know why this happens. All right, so I think this way, but is there other ways to think about it? And I'm sorry, I could go on, but yeah, that's how I started. It was really wild.
Very cool.
That's amazing.
It's kind of crazy, but it honestly, it happened. And I don't know. It led me to where I'm at today. So,
Well, I mean, it shows that if Danny wants you, Danny will come get you.
yeah. And it opened our eyes. Like there is more to what we've been told. There's so much more out there than this very narrow way of thinking that we were all taught to believe.
Exactly.
And I wanted to know everything. I wanted to know. I was like, by the time I pass away, I want to know everything in this world that there is to know. I'm only this much there. I'm stuck.
And I think there's more than we can learn in just one lifetime.
I know.
We're not limited.
Exactly. Right.
I started out with the search in the computer lab when I was in college, and I found a website on Wicca.
Oh, wow.
I don't remember what I was searching on, but I found a website on Wicca, and that started me on my path.
Wow. I mean, we're drawn to it. It doesn't matter
Exactly.
where you're coming to. You're going to find what you're needing to find. It's going to find you. And it's going to show you. I think it finds everybody, but if you're not open to it, you're not going to notice it.
If you're meant to find it, you will find it.
Yes. I think the universe reaches out to everybody. It's how willing we are to embrace that and change our beliefs and be open-minded.
Well, two people can look at the same thing and see two very different occurrences, depending on where they are. And, they say when you're ready, the teacher appears.
Yep. That's exactly true.
The teacher may always have been there. You just couldn't see them because you weren't ready yet.
Right. Yeah, I believe that wholeheartedly. No.
Yeah.
Out of all the shows that you have done, what would you say is the most interesting, or maybe a couple of the most interesting subjects that you've dealt with?
As far as learning things, or as far as learning things for the podcast, or
as far as what you consider most memorable?
Oh, reincarnation takes you in a multitude of directions, and it opens your mind to different possibilities. And reincarnation is very, very fascinating to me, and I believe it wholeheartedly. And I never heard of that concept until after I started looking elsewhere for answers. So that's one of the most intriguing things about paganism that I've come across. And I don't think it's just paganism. There's so many other beliefs, so many other religions and belief systems out there that believe in the reincarnation, about our souls don't end when our body dies. And
Right.
my mind blown, because there's so many different ways to think about it. Quantum physics comes in. What time are you in? And okay, so if you die here, you're going to jump here, but isn't that reincarnation? There's so much to think about, and I love that. And I'm constantly learning new things. Once I think I'm like, I believe this way, I hear something else that changes that a little bit. I'm never set in just one way of thinking. And I love that. That's one of my favorite topics, by the way. So there's that. I'm learning a lot of things though doing the podcast. Like, I didn't know a whole lot about Druidry. And I just released an episode this past weekend about Druidry, and I had to do a deep dive into whatever I could find online. And I didn't know who to reach out to person-wise, and like, what do you believe? Because I haven't found a whole lot of people saying I'm a Druid. And maybe I haven't tapped into that community quite yet. And when I did, they're very shy about talking about their beliefs. So that's another thing that kind of piqued my interest. And the past couple of weeks, I've just been all into learning more about Druids and ancient Druids, modern Druids. And I don't know, that's just another thing. I hyper fixate on something. When I find something very intriguing, I will hyper fixate on it until I find something else that blows my mind again.
As you've been doing this, you talk about learning as you go and learning new things. Is there anything that has um, perhaps changed the way that you looked at something that came to you through the podcast, or expanded you looked at something?
That's a really good question. I want to say that every episode that I've done has changed the way I've looked at things, because you think you know something and you're going to go talk about it. So you start writing it down, and you're like, well, let me do some research on this. And I find that subject is has more depth than when I first thought. So like, one of the things I love about the podcast is I'm learning with every episode that I do. And I feel like my spirituality is so much deeper. And it's only been 5 months, something like that. It hasn't been very long. And no matter what it was, Maiden Mother Crone, I thought I knew everything about that energy. And, I look more into it. I'm like, oh, so when I'm doing this is maiden energy. But when I'm doing this and I'm nurturing that, and I start like identifying it in my own life, like, mother energy here, and then I go on to my other subject. I find another subject to talk about. And I do that same deep dive, and I'm more in depth when I first started. So I love it. Every episode that I do is enriching my own soul. And I love it. So one of the reasons I started this podcast is probably 15 years ago. I had this reading, like a tarot reading, from this lady named Mary Hawk. And she told me that there's going to be something in my life that hasn't happened quite yet that I'm going to do, and it's going to help other people. And at the time, I was writing country music. I'm like, well, people like my music. I don't know if it's that or not. And I'm like, well, I had these theories on like different topics, like my pine cone theory, and maybe I'll write a book one day. Well, that never came into fruition. And then one day I just had this wild hair, and I said, I need to start teaching what I know. And as I got into it, that came back to me, that reading, because I've had people go, you are opening my eyes to so much. And I'm like, Mary Hawk actually told me I was going to be doing this. So yeah, that I have never forgot that. So just letting you know. Miss Mary.
Thank you.
Thank you.
That's very cool.
Well, we're just the messenger, when we do readings.
Exactly. Yep. Yep. So, so Mary's going to be she's going to have a special guest spot on next week's podcast episode. And it's on tarot, and I'm not going in depth. I'm just kind of talking in general and about intuition and trusting your intuition about tarot, because I've gotten the habit of trying to, what does this card mean again? Exactly to the T? No. Back up, look at it with your third eye. You know what I mean? And I've had to retrain myself. And so that's what next week's episode is going to be about. And Miss Mary Hawk is going to be our special guest. So.
The various guests you've had, not including, right? Who would you say was the most memorable guest?
I've had a lot of different special guests, but S.J. Tucker let me use her song for our Green Gods of the Glen episode. So I got to use the hymn to Hearn as our special guest spot. Now, the special guest spot doesn't have to be somebody talking. It can be a chant, because my very first special guest spot was a chant from Pinson Mound in Tennessee. They sent that to me, and that was a special guest spot. And then I had people talking about, one of them was somebody talking about how Hecate helped her through a very tough spot in her life. Another one was just like, I work with the media, and here's how I protect myself from, the naysayers of the world. And S.J. Tucker just let me use her song. And I actually wrote the episode around the song, because I was going to use it for the deity episode, but I decided to use it on something more relevant to her song. So I wrote it around, that song. And I love that, because she's like my favorite ever in the whole world. And I got to introduce her.
She is amazing.
She is. And I got to hang out with her at Puffs, and that was great too. My booth is across from hers. I'm like, hey, SJ. She's like, leave me alone. No, she didn't do that. Fangirling, but it was cool. Yeah, so I've had a lot of different guest spots, a lot of people talking from the heart, a lot of people, here's my 2 cents, or here's what I do. I don't know. So my last episode was episode 19. So I'm still building that up. And I'm open to everything, songs or chants or, stories or whatever. Okay.
And you've got some things you found interesting and fun and enlightening about doing this. What's the hardest thing about doing?
Can you say that one more time? It was kind of broken up.
You've talked about what you've enjoyed in doing your podcast and what you found interesting. What's been the hardest thing to do regarding your podcast?
The hardest thing? So I'm not really an herb witch. I don't really do, I like teas, and but I don't have a garden. I've never had a green thumb. So that was a pretty, I won't say hard episode, but I have to learn things that really didn't pique my interest, but I knew it did for a lot of my friends, a lot of my followers. So I had to learn that. And every time I go to write a new episode, I have to realize it's not about my interests. It's about what I already know, whether it piques my interest or not. There's so many different people out there wanting different things. So I have to brainstorm on what other people have talked about. And I do live, events. I do a lot of live events. And I ask people, what is it that you want to hear in a podcast, like a pagan podcast? And sometimes people talk about astrology. And I'm like, man, I don't know a whole lot about that. And I know a lot of people that do. And I don't want to, I get this weird feeling like, okay, so if I'm going to do all this research and dive into it and learn it, what if I teach it wrong? So I always have that little thing in my head that self-doubt, I guess. And I do my own editing too. So I'm listening to my voice going, oh, I shouldn't have said it like that. That's not what I meant. So there's a lot of self-doubt, but I have to push through it and draw from my higher self saying, chill out. You got this. You know what you're doing. And I think that's the hardest part, because after everything's said and done, I will publish it and then I'll listen to it. And after I listen to it, after all the pressure is off, I'm like, that wasn't so bad. That wasn't so bad at all. And that's been the hardest part for me, is that the whole self-doubt at the back of your head. You're like, okay,
Yes.
what if someone sees it different? Well, great. Everybody should see it different. So the podcast isn't, here's what we do. It's, here's the way some people do things. If this piques your interest, please look more into it. Take what you want and make this your own. And I try to say that. Like, I'm on TikTok and I'm always saying that. I'm like, so if you want to know all about druids, you can listen to the podcast, but take what you want from it. If anything piques your interest, you got Google. You know what I mean? So I don't know. It's that little self-doubt in the back of your head. I think everybody struggles with that, though.
I think you're absolutely right about that.
Yeah.
You are.
We're always our own worst critics.
Yeah, we are. I've been that way my whole life. I think everybody has been,
Yes.
I think
We always criticize ourselves.
Yeah.
So where can people find your podcast?
Oh, I'm on all the major platforms. I'm on YouTube as well. I don't have a whole lot of followers on YouTube. I don't think a podcast that people aren't watching things isn't like YouTube material, but I still have people listening. So there's YouTube, there's iHeartRadio, Amazon Music, Audible, Apple Podcasts. I'm pretty much on all the major platforms. I can never think of them all. I always get
okay. Wherever you get your podcast, look for the Anonymous Crone.
Yep, Anonymous Crone podcast. Because if you just put anonymous, there's all kinds of weird stuff that pops up. So.
Oh yeah, look for Anonymous Crone.
Yes, ma'am. So.
Thank you so much.
Oh, you're welcome. Thank you so much for having me on. It's been a lot of fun.
It's been great speaking with you.
Oh, it's been great speaking with you too. So from here, do you guys read tarot? Is that tonight's thing, or was it just us tonight?
It's just us tonight.
Oh, that's wonderful. Oh, I feel so special. No. Well, if anyone's going to be in, so like I said, I'm doing a lot of lives. So next month, at the end of the month, I'm doing Pagan Pride Day in New Orleans. So
Ooh.
I know.
What is the date for that?
It is the 26th, September 26th. And I get to see Jack.
Ah.
Yeah, they're down there, and I get to hang out with them. They're doing something musical down there, so we're gonna be in the same little festival. It's gonna be fun.
It will be.
Yeah, I do a lot of things around the Houston area. I travel when I can. So yeah, Louisiana next month.
Wonderful. Well, thank you so much for joining us tonight.
Oh, well, thank you so much for having me.
And blessed be everyone.
Blessed be.
Rev Don's Book of Astrology. Everything you always wanted to know about the stars in one book. Get your copy today at CorellianPublishing.com. Rev Don's Book of Stones, Metals, and Crystals. Everything you always wanted to know about the magical and spiritual properties of stones, metals, and crystals in one book. Get your copy today at CorellianPublishing.com.